Venom just came out in theaters this weekend, and chances are you probably went to see it because even though the movie is sitting at 31% in Rotten Tomatoes, it opened to an October box office record. I'm Terry Schwartz, this is Jim Vejvoda, and we're talking about how, Venom was projected to make $55 million at the box office, which is not great. If people were thinking maybe it'd hit 60 or something and beat the previous record for October, which is Gravity, but it ended up coming in at 80 million, which is a pretty solid opening weekend for a movie people have some, we'll say, mixed responses to. Did this surprise you?
Divisive response.
Yeah.
It did and it didn't, insofar as we kind of knew from our audience and their taste how much they were into Venom, and would the bad reviews and sort of divisive response keep them away? And clearly it didn't. $80 million is a pretty significant marker for that movie because it's only about $100 million budget. So the movie is on the path to profitability. Now the trick is, what kind of legs will this movie have? How long will it actually stick around at the top of the box office? I mean, it could have a significant second weekend drop. And there's precedent for that.
I think it's pretty interesting because, a lot of movie studios sort of consider having a negative Rotten Tomatoes score as being a death knell for the box office. But I think Venom was a case of people, and Suicide Squad probably pretty similar, where even though critics are saying this is a movie you shouldn't take the time, spend the money to go see, by the time it came out, even if it was getting negative reviews, opening weekend, the people who were so excited about it going in were gonna wanna go see for themselves whether it's good or bad. And I've been looking in the comments, like on IGN.com and on our YouTube stuff, and it still seems to be pretty mixed. Some people are saying Venom was totally garbage, and some people were saying, no, I actually liked it. I liked it better than IGN reviewed it. We gave it a 4. So I think that's interesting, and I'm curious, do you think that this is going to see a significant second weekend drop at the box office? Okay. Because I think
definitively,
what we see on the flip side is that when movies do get positive word of mouth, we see that sort of it doesn't have that same drop, whereas if people are disappointed, they probably won't tell their friends and family to go back and see it with them the next weekend as well.
There's a lot of precedent here because you mentioned Suicide Squad is one. I mean, that movie opened even bigger than Venom. It opened to 133 million. It had a huge 67+% drop the second weekend. BVS, a similar thing, 69.1%. But even when you just look at some of the Marvel Sony movies, I mean, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is a comparable one. That opened to about 91.6 million, dropped 61% the next weekend. So Amazing Spider-Man 2, Suicide Squad, and Venom all had the same cinema score as well. So that's B+, which indicates kind of how the audience feels about that. Now, I do think that Venom will have a pretty big drop, but because it cost less than these other movies, it will end up being profitable in the long run. But will it get a sequel? I mean, there are plenty of movies that are huge hits that we're 3 years out, we still don't have one.
I do want to quickly translate sort of what that second weekend drop means, because I think what, we talk about the 67% drop, right? And when you open to 80 million, that gets you down to, I can't do quick mental math, but like the $20-30 million range. And what that means is that even though Venom opened big, it might not have ultimately a really big run at the box office versus something with really positive word of mouth that people keep going back and seeing. And we saw this happen with Suicide Squad, like you mentioned, where it did open big because people went and saw it opening weekend, but didn't end up making as much money. So I guess we'll see if people are still excited and it gets that sequel that we know Tom Hardy has signed on for, or if we just get this one hit and then maybe we get a Venom TV show or something like that in the future.
Boom.
That they might get a bit more right. We're gonna have plenty more Venom coverage coming on IGN, whether this movie does well the next weekend at the box office or not. So for more on Venom, make sure to check out our review and find out why we gave it a 4.0 out of 10. And also check out this really cool life-size Venom bust that we saw this past weekend at New York Comic Con. For all things Venom, Spider-Man, and beyond, be sure to like and subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.